So, Monsieur Joyeux, you have separated company with your companions. You've decided that the welcoming noises and the smell of sweat and vomit and that sort of thing just isn't quite your cup of tea. The Tin Bells, satisfactory as a pub as it is, or as it was, is definitely leagues above the one that they are about to enter. So, instead of following them in, you've elected to go and seek out information on your own. A close contact of yours is not too far from here, maybe a couple blocks down the road, and this kind of an evening, this particular area of Whitechapel, it's not going to be too dangerous for you to make the journey there. The carriage that Lieutenant Blackwell had summoned has long since departed, so it's definitely going to have to be a foot trek for you. So, heading out into the evening, it's into the close to the midnight hour, if memory serves, and the heavy fog is in the air. There's a bit of a mist that's lighting onto the ground. It seems to float in the air before it actually hits the concrete and the cobblestone of the streets. And your footfalls kind of echo on the walls and mixes with the sound of other taverns and pubs and people gathered in alleys for whatever sort of games of chance. You do occasionally get a look from one darkened window or another as you move your way into the next street. So, the person you're going to go and see is an old friend of yours, someone who's been there for you in times past, and who has held the friendship along with secrets over these long years. So, tell us a little bit about the person you're going to go and meet.
The person I am going to go and meet is an individual by the name of Sigourney Homewood. They work in this area, Whitechapel, as a tattooist, occasionally dabbling in other arts, both artistic and magical. And they're someone that Joy has known since childhood. They were separate for a while, but they ended up meeting each other again in London. And their lives have kind of taken them in different paths, but they're always going to be bound together by their friendship and the knowledge they both share.
All right. So, the place where you're going to visit them it's not in a terrible area of Whitechapel. Kind of as we talked about last episode, this area is one that supports not only small homes, little hovels, slums really, where multiple families live in one apartment, that sort of thing. But there's also shops, little curiosities that are tucked away in alleys left and right, and hidden away in places that a lot of people don't bring up at your average tea party. But they are a place where those outside of Whitechapel, those who are in the middle classes, and in some cases even the higher classes, will venture here in secret. And this particular area is another offshoot of that. You do have the catwalks above, the planks, the shadow road up above in the buildings, where you'll every so often you can take a glance, and just beyond the occasional lit lamp post, you'll see shadows moving back and forth, the shifting planks as people cover their tracks as they move across them. A lot less police presence here as well. You will see the occasional pair moving by, but it's a lot less than you did back on Commerce Street, or Commercial Street, I should say. So, in any case, you make your way forward until you find a shop. And the shop it's located down a down a narrow alley, past a couple of not what should be considered rubbish bins, but looks like it might be a place where maybe they throw out some extra food for an alley cat or two, because you actually see a couple of alley cats perched on a low stone ledge, eyeballing you as you walk by.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
They like cats.
Yes, they see you and they study you, and there's a bit of a tension as they lower their heads and watch you in almost a predatory fashion. But as they see you go by, one of them drops down, a kind of a smoky gray looking cat with puffy hair, missing a couple of patches here and there, probably from fights that it's been in. But it comes along and rubs along your leg in a familiar way, and is almost like an escort to the door at the end of the alley. So here we are. We've arrived at a nondescript door, and above it there is I don't want to call it a banner, but it's a sign with stretched material within the frame of it, probably like a heavy duty painting material. Sorry, I'm losing track of
Canvas.
Canvas, thank you. A heavy gauge canvas that, while it has retained some of the moisture from the outside, it seems to be weathering it quite well. But along the sign, there's a single name and then there's a symbol. So what do you think that single name and that symbol would be?
Oh. Well, we were discussing before we started the possibility of there kind of being a street nickname for Sigourney going around.
Yeah.
But I have not thought of one yet.
Do you think that would be the name of the shop, or do you think it might be a different name?
I think there might be a name. There might be a name for the shop, but I think if there's just one name on that banner, that name would be Homewood.
Homewood. I like it. All right.
And the symbol on that banner is going to be a very intricately painted kind of a filigree design.
Okay.
In the shape of a heart.
Dig it. I dig it. All right. So you head over and you test the door, and the door is locked. It's pretty easy to tell, but there's something about the door that you know as a friend of theirs that there's a way to get in. So like there's maybe a secret combination of touches along the door or along the wood, or maybe there's something that's on your person that you use. Whether it's a key or a stone or something that you have. What would that look like?
I think it is. Oh, you know what? Let's bring one of the cards into this.
Okay.
I still haven't actually thought of the whole system.
That's okay.
For Joy's cards and what they do, but I'm basically planning on going back through the episodes and kind of retconning a system into place.
I like it.
So hearts was spades were fire. Hearts were. Sorry, I'm trying to suss out what I figured already.
You're totally doing fine. And for those out there watching, this is kind of what I do. Sometimes I'll put the players on the spot and get them into the narrative, and that's what I like, because I like to hear their creativity, and
yeah,
you guys already know these guys are creative.
So what I'm doing kind of right now is I'm going through literally a physical deck of cards, because that's kind of one of the items Joy has, is it's a specific special deck of cards, all, different suits and things, and each one is kind of inscribed with different sigils. and the cards can actually have different magical effects if they're activated. Nothing huge, but mainly it's kind of stuff that's used for, parlor tricks and kind of generating spooky things to be used in seances. A wind around the room.
Sure.
Smoke, all that stuff. So, since the lock is metal, let's go with 6 of clubs. I dropped it. One sec. Monsieur Joyeux is much better with not being a klutz than I am. And what he's going to do with that 6 of clubs is he's going to press it to the space of the door right above the knob. And when it's activated, it will press into the lock and open it.
Awesome. So, as you do that and you bring the clubs forward, you press the card onto the door above where the lock is, and you feel it beneath your hand. You feel kind of a warmth that suffuses through your palm and into your forearm and almost to your elbow, almost like you're putting your hand into warm water, like from a spring, a hot spring. And as you do so, you hear the subtle shift of mechanisms behind the door. And when you take the card away, the card is still in your hand, but the face, everything that was written on the face is gone. The card is blank at this point. So nothing too shocking for you. You've had to reapply the workings of the sigil into this card before. But it makes you think that it's been far too long since the last time you visited your friend, because it's been a long time since you've had to redo the card. So yeah, the mechanisms beneath your hand had moved and shifted, and you feel the door ease inward slightly. So you're able to push it open, and there's the sound of a bell above the door with a gentle clinking as you walk inside. So the space on the interior is small. It's probably the size of, let's say, maybe 300 or 400 square feet, so nothing huge. Mm-hmm. But it's enough space for them to do their work, and enough space in the back for them to sleep. All right, well, remind me, should we have a space above this shop where they live? And
yeah, I think it's like 2 floors. The bottom is the work area.
Okay.
And the top is kind of their living space.
So that'll be okay. Perfect. So this is their workspace, and so when you look in the back, there's actually a small wrought iron staircase that spirals upwards to the upper level. So you walk inside, and in the back, there's throughout the shop there's like small hip-high shelves that contain inks and other mediums and materials. There's even over on the left-hand side there's a round brass hanger that has a coat and a couple of blouses. There's a set of boots at the bottom as well, but definitely not their clothes. You kind of know their style, so it might be some work or something that they've been commissioned to perform. But as you walk inside, you hear a slight buzzing in the back. There's the sound of like a compression, like a billows, small billows that's kind of working up and down with a hiss of steam, and then expulsion of air, and then it comes back and breathes in, almost like a tiny little mechanized set of lungs as it's going in and out and in and out. And so how do you normally greet your friend?
Yeah, it's probably a sound that Joy's heard before if you spent any time in Sigourney's shop, so...
Sure.
And so he's not going to go busting in and interrupt their work,
Boo!
Yeah, that's a great way to get a needle in the eye.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially with this equipment, because I'm imagining this tattoo machine is like partially etheric or whatever the term is.
There's a bit of magics that are in there, and as you kind of round a corner, I don't want to say a corner, but you round one of the bookshelves, and you can see the little apparatus moving up and down. It's a worn maroon, deep maroon leather with the accordion billows underneath, and it's maybe only about this tall as it's compressing up and down. But you do see the workings of little tubes of green fluid that kind of move in and around the billows as it's working. And as each compression comes up and down, you see the fluid move through. And the only sense of movement is the little bubbles that you'll see ever so often kind of following its way through it. So yeah, there's definitely something otherworldly about it. There's definitely something magical about it, for sure.
Nice.
So how do you go about announcing yourself?
I think they're just gonna kind of settle into the workspace. He's gonna get himself into Sigourney's line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So you make your way around the shelf a little bit further, and there's a small table that she works on that actually an acquaintance of theirs put together for them that lays flat, but also breaks up into 3 segments to where it can be used almost like a chair. And right now, it's set up as a chair. And you'll notice that there's your friend seated on their little rolling stool that they have, and they're working feverishly on the back of an individual. The person is of fairly slim build. You would almost think them a gnome if not for the fact that they're a little bit more stocky of build. So more of so as you're kind of moving into their line of sight, you see that it's a female Huldu folk, kind of like hobbits in this world. And if that's wrong, InnRoads, I'll make sure I correct that in the edit. But they're working on them right now. And it looks like there is the symbol of an apple that's being worked into between their shoulder blades. Heavily stylized, and it has almost kind of wisps of various colors that kind of pull off of it, almost as if the ink is running on the back of the person. But they glance over and give you a smile and basically says, "Oh, it's only going to be 1 minute, love. Just give me a minute there. What brings you by?"
What, I can't visit an old friend without there being some kind of ulterior motive?
Oh, an old friend. Is that what you call me? I haven't seen you in so long.
Work's kept me busy, what can I say?
At least there is work. I won't have you wandering the streets now. So they're still kind of working, and the huff of the thing is moving up and down. The Holder woman turns her head and starts to kind of move her shoulder, and Sigourney places her other hand down and says, "Now, easy does it, almost done." And she continues to work. So, business or pleasure?
Both, really.
Ah, good. Then you won't mind pouring us a drink now, will you?
Not a problem.
So she has a cabinet that has some assorted drinks. There's actually some tea on a little tiny stove, little potbelly stove. That's the tea is actually percolated and ready, and steeped. So she continues her work, or their work as you're doing your thing, and eventually, her the finishing touches goes onto this this apple, and as she finishes, they take the ink pen or the mechanism that they're using and put it aside, and they place a small. It's almost like a cheesecloth material that gets placed onto the person's back, and as they're finishing the work, she sings to herself a little bit and pulls a pendant out, and as she's singing, the pendant glows a bit, and you see a little puff of bluish smoke come out of the pendant, and then likewise, like through the little tiny holes that are in the cheesecloth, you see little puffs of smoke and wisps start to come up from the Holy Folk's back, and just like that, the binding of the magic is done, and they roll the little stool back, and they stand up, and they give a hand to the Holy Folk who stands and dresses up and gets ready to go, and then goes to the brass hanger or brass rack and pulls off the coat and or the blouse and the coat and gets dressed. They don't make, or the female Holy Folk doesn't make eye contact with you, but is profoundly thankful to the person, to Sigourney, and is offering thanks in High Gaelic, actually, as they're speaking in the old tongue, and nods and continues as they thank you, and one thing that you catch before they leave is that they say that they're, I have to tell you, there's my family's going to be in your debt for a very long time. Thank you very much. And bows once, and they get ushered out, and Sigourney closes the door behind them. So they lean up against the door and look at you, and so, what are you going to be telling me about now? What sort of thing has got you crossing my door?
Oh, it's a long story.
Well, I've just finished my work for the evening. I guess I can help you with yours.
That works fine. First question. Have you seen any children wandering around Whitechapel? I know, odd, but...
Have I seen children in Whitechapel? That don't, what? That's... Well, if you look around, when there's not a lot to do after work or before work and you still have energy, then there's going to be children about. That's just nature.
That is true, but they're Eldrin children. I've told you about this Torchbearer Society that I've been in, correct?
Oh yes, going on about it. What's is this for them?
Yes. We've been assigned a bit of a case. High class Eldrin family, 2 children, a little more interested in adventures than is particularly safe. And we have been assigned to find them. The sooner the better.
I should say, if your steps take you here, then I probably wouldn't want to have them wandering around in Whitechapel very much. I hear myself saying that, and I'm thinking that normally children aren't out too often after dark unless they're part of a rookery or something. But I don't think that these Eldrin would be part of that, right? I don't think that'd be possible.
Certainly not at this stage. I don't believe they've been gone so long. We have been looking at leads. The mother's brother, I believe, takes them wandering a bit. So they've been in this area before, but not yet unaccompanied, we believe. But, I wouldn't have expected you to see them, but it is something for you to keep your eye out if you should ever you know.
Well, tell me about them. What sort of children are they?
2 children, Henrietta and Michael. Michael. He probably would have forgotten in character.
Nice. Okay.
God.
So Henrietta and somebody.
Henrietta and something with an M. Marcus.
I have to do something about that memory of yours.
I've got enough memory for the important things.
Names are fine. Names are fine. But what else? What else can you tell me about them? What about them?
Eldrin, young. I believe early mid-teens, but they'll look younger. And, as far as we've been able to parse, a couple of no-good troublemakers. Blackmailed their nurse.
Now we get to it. Yes. Continue. Yes.
Of course. We heard from the wayward uncle that they were a bit fascinated with the so-called underworld here. He met with some business associate of his, few times with them in tow. It's actually where my co-workers, as it is, are meeting with him. Nasty place. Ugh.
Really? Does this place have a name? Is it close?
Not. I don't remember the name of the place. Something with a busty door on the sign. But the man's name was Harrington.
Harrington.
Is that a name you've heard?
Oh, yes. I've, not necessarily run afoul of him. I have dealt with, one of his companions before, a big fella, an ogre named Tom.
Tom.
He's tough, but he's got a smile that, sometimes the smile's not for the right things. Seems like he's sometimes delighted about other people's pain. And as you're kind of thinking back, actually, no, never mind, you didn't go into the bearded wench. You didn't go in there. Never mind. So if they've run afoul of him, if they've been involved with Harrington, then I don't think he's not one to traffic in children. I'll be blunt with you. There's obviously people who do such a thing here. It's unfortunately not below this level of society. But what I've got, as far as Harrington goes, this dwarf, he's a tough. He likes to use his fists quite a bit. But he also is smart. He's smart enough to see multiple angles. So, being able to see a story a few pages ahead, as it were. But I just don't think I've seen him recently. No, at least not recently. I haven't seen him. Now, Eldrin children, tell me about this brother, this cousin, uncle.
Uncle, I think. Mother's brother. Robert Doyle. Bohemian chap.
He's yes, I've...
He seemed like the sort of person you would either get on very well with or not at all.
It depends greatly upon what I've had that evening. He's fine, and he's a bit like the white candy. He's fine in small doses. A bit full of himself, but it's kind of hard not to be.
We noticed.
It's not hard. It's hard not to be. I mean, he's Eldrin. He's good looking, but yes, he does tend towards the melodramatic. So he's been wandering around with these children. Why
Mm-hmm.
why all of a sudden have they latched upon him?
I think it's the adventure. He's taking them outside in the world their parents want them to see, taking them to plays, to criminals, not their particularly unsavory parts, but, the things that get children's imaginations going, I suppose. We believe the older one, Henrietta, quite taken with him.
Infatuation. That's a strong thing. Very strong. Grafts itself to the heart really quickly. So, plays, you say, are they going down to the pavilion?
I believe so. We'd found a playbill in their things. It was one of the leads that got us to Robert, but, and Robert took us to Harrington, and Lord knows where Harrington will take us. Glad to know his sword isn't in the business of children.
No, he's more into the gambling, smuggling. Well, I have to be honest. I mean, I have had business with him before. They point over to the one of the shelves closer to the wall, and you'll see a box that's there, and the box is it's a deep wood or deep color shade of wood, like a red oak or a lacquered red oak, and the designs on it are interesting enough. What sort of do you happen to have linguistics as a skill?
I do not.
I guess even if you don't, you could always ask them what it means. But the characters there, you've probably seen it on different like food stalls, that sort of thing. But it looks like Indian characters that are on the side. Yeah, he managed to procure that vessel for me. It's a place to keep some of my more delicate inks. Something that from the the East Indian Company won't miss it very much. But but he was able to procure that. He is a bit into the smuggling business, so I'm sure he has tales of adventure he's probably given to the children. But
they would have eaten it up, knowing them.
Yes. So it's something that strikes me as odd that this infatuation, this what do you want to call it, maybe a misplaced love of this Robert person. He wouldn't steer them wrong, but he's a bit dim-witted. So there's things that he's going to miss, right? I mean, we've seen their like before, you and I. I think we've dealt with their like before. Things that go missing that they never know about. But if this Henrietta is wily enough, you said, to commit blackmail at her young age in order to get out of the house, then there may be something to it. Perhaps using him as a instrument of some sort, something that'll get to them out of the house.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised.
So
the leading theory right now is they're on their own. We don't believe they were kidnapped. Not at this junction.
That's true. So is it a habit of theirs?
Just a matter of tracking them down.
You mentioned that they went to the pavilion, that they've gone on, walks with this Robert fellow. So they've done this more than once, too.
Plenty.
Well, there is a person down at the pavilion. It's name's Dylan. She's one of the playwrights there. She's actually quite brilliant. I mean, they just got done with a rendition of King Lear, and now have moved on to something a little bit more controversial, aristocratic affairs. It's kind of a stance against some of the things that are going on in Parliament now, and how There's the potential of this conscription bill, that sort of thing. But she might be a person to talk to. That's definitely a possibility. If she's sharp. She's a sharp one, and she'll remember subtle things. Not like this Robert. He sees things that he wants to see in people, so if he wants to draw out something dramatic and important with a flair, then that's exactly what he'll see in you.
Oh, believe me.
Yes. He shook your hand, didn't he?
Oh, yes, multiple times. It was madly distressing.
Yeah, he's a toucher, that's for sure. So, that might be one way. One way to check this out is to go and talk with this Dylan. She's an artist. She does have a certain way about her, but no, it's not that. It's not like you haven't dealt with people like that before, right? So yes, definitely, it's a good place to go. Now, let me think here. Nothing. Gosh, I really think it would stand out if we'd seen these children like that, especially with a buffoon like Robert.
They'd certainly be a sight in Whitechapel, I'm sure.
Yes. I mean, unless they've found a way to disguise themselves, if they've taken on the garb of the lesser classes. Sometimes, a good amount of smudge and a well-placed hat, a well-placed cloak can easily conceal someone's status. I mean, that's how some of these people come in here. In fact, I have an appointment with one in just a matter of 2 hours. But, yes, if they're wandering alone, they won't last long. That's for sure. Well, how about this? Talk with this Dylan. Find out a little bit more of what they were up to in her theater. You say your friends are making a run at this Harrington, yes?
Yes, as we speak.
I don't trust him, that's for sure, but like I said, he's not into children, unless there's some form of leverage. But...
Well, as of now, our employers have not gotten any letters of blackmail or ransom, so it's a plus.
Well, tell me about the parents.
We have not dealt much with the father, but the mother was the one that hired us. He would remember this. Help me.
Remember the voice? Oh, you're meaning like out of character?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Let's see here. Mrs. Patricia Doyle.
Patricia Doyle. And the husband was Henry, right? Awesome. Yes, the mother, Patricia Doyle. Robert's sister. But, I have not asked why they share the same last name, and I would, might rather not know, frankly. Knowing the things these upper-class families get into.
Yes, that's the only name I've ever known him by, so it is interesting. So, did this mother, did she seem overbearing? Did she seem uncaring or distant? Or
Not, I wouldn't say uncaring. Implies a certain disregard. She certainly loves her children, but she seems more like she has plenty on her plate running her household. Children mostly saw their nursemaids, their tutor.
Tutor, you say?
Certainly worried to have them gone. I would imagine no remotely competent mother that would be not upset.
A tutor, you say?
A tutor. We've already examined a few leads concerning him. Doesn't really seem the sort to run off with children.
Still, it's...
The two of them didn't like him much, I don't believe.
Well, it's the idea of...
One of my associates certainly didn't.
I'm not editing that one. No, so it seems a bit odd that, well, I guess in that level, that class, there's always the pushing off of responsibilities of the parent, that sort of thing, to somebody else. A tutor, I guess it's not a...
You know how it is.
concern.
Why do it yourself when you can hire someone to conspicuously do it for you?
Yeah, very true. But there's this something that tells me that, if they're willing to disappear for so often, I guess it concerns me that possibly the parents are not so much involved, but pushed in such a way that, possibly these children are just, they decided, I don't want to be involved with this. I want to be involved with the real world. I want to be out there. They don't see within their parents the need to be them. So that's why...
That doesn't surprise me.
So I'm wondering the motivations that they would come down here. So how far would they go? How, would they throw in the lot with with somebody like a Harrington, or with somebody like a Robert Doyle, or somebody worse? And that would help us to get into the mind of what they're after.
Yes.
And plus it helps to know a little bit about them, about the parents, about what they do. Nothing that you gleaned about the father?
It's typical nobleman, as far as I'm aware. Did a bit of traveling. He's gone now, I believe.
Where's his destination?
We saw the ticket. It was Hong Kong, I believe?
Hong Kong.
Somewhere East Asia. If not there, precisely.
Hong Kong.
And the house was certainly, showed trinkets of travel to the place. Maybe not,
Favors the Oriental Cup. Does he favor that
anything of particular worth, but, the sort of thing you'd put on a shelf. Show off to,
So he favors the Orient, you say?
Yes.
Well, perhaps
the children's interests didn't seem to go in that direction, so I'm not aware whether or not that would be a factor. But if they were trying to head in a different direction as their parents, then probably some rough and tumble down in the actual streets of London.
Now, be keen to find out what your friends find out from Harrington. Yeah, there's thinking of the father, if he's gone overseas, that sort of thing. Perhaps he would have need of somebody like Harrington. The dwarf doesn't just simply show up in one's life by happenstance, as it were. There's the aspect of, yes, Robert Doyle may have introduced them and saying, hey, look, and pompous ass. He probably says, look at the types of people that I know, and this is colorful, and look at this, and look at those, and oh, look, there's somebody over there doing a thing, and yes.
That sounds completely like Robert Doyle.
So, I don't know. Possibly he just introduced them just to show off, or Harrington may have put himself in their sight. Possible
connection there, yes.
So listen to what they find out. There may be something to it.
There may be a connection there, yeah.
But Dylan is as good a place as any to go next. If once you return with your
Should
friends.
Harrington not pull up any leads.
Right. And if anything, you might be able to get some form of a place where they've been in chronological order. It's possible. But
would rather know where they are than where they've been, but
yes,
better than nothing.
children in Whitechapel. That's
Children in Whitechapel.
something that, at least at night, you don't like to hear about. So I do hope that you find them. But
As do I.
so what do you think of this? You've gone on about the torchbearers, but what do you think of them? I mean...
Good lord, where do I begin? There's certainly a bunch.
Do any of them know about you?
Know about
Well...
me or know about me?
Know about you, love. Know about what you can do.
I've toned a little to, Miranda. Miranda Russell, delightful lady, you'd love her. Good lord. She has stories. But,
Is this the one that was involved with that thing down at the police precinct?
with the box, yes. Yes.
Ah, the box, yes.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Could, finally say I'm a real spiritualist. Talk to a ghost.
Yes, you did. You know, something odd. I had been hearing about it on the street this last couple of days, but it seemed that there was a hearing of policemen that were in Hong Kong that had found themselves there. That made me think of this situation of yours.
Small world, I suppose.
Yes.
Just getting smaller.
With every airship that sails aloft, it gets smaller and smaller, that's for sure. So, more about this torchbearers. What do you think? Is this something that you are going to continue to engage with, or is this something else?
I see no reason to disengage. They're an amicable bunch. Well, with one exception. But, you know, have something interesting to do. Resources, things to learn. Hasn't exactly gotten me the clientele I was hoping it would. Twice now that I have been scheduled for seances by these people. Not yet been paid.
Nothing.
Oh. Ridiculous.
This is why I told you, you're going to have something that's on your own time that you'll be able to do. You can't depend on missions of mercy to line your pockets.
Well, at least this case they're paying us well.
So
not really what's on my calling card, but you know.
So it was them that recommended this little investigation.
It was an acquaintance. I believe the same one that actually got me involved with these torchbearers. Put us in contact with this Mrs. Doyle, her wayward children, all this nonsense.
Well, it just makes me wonder why would they be interested in children? I mean, your last little adventure involved what was it? A underground museum with a scepter of some form? I mean, this is a far cry from missing children.
Yes, I suppose it is a bit of a birth there, but you know. Again, what pays the bills? Although, I suppose with this Mr. Doyle's interest in the Orient and its various artifacts, you know, real or fake, I suppose there's a connection to the British Museum there.
Well, be mindful of it. Don't... I know you don't walk blindly into anything, but sometimes you do get a little focused on singular objects and tend to miss things. I don't want you to do that.
Well, I'm glad for the reminder, Sigourney.
If there's anything else I can do, I'd be glad to help you. But,
well,
is there anything else?
Just one discussion with you and I've already got a few leads, so...
Well, is there anything else that's on your mind?
Ah. Well, I mean, there is, but...
And so
well.
she stands up and she actually pours another couple of glasses of drink. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll have that. Well, I suppose it's your burden as much as mine. When we were heading towards this place where Harrington is, we were told he'd be found. There was a woman, gnomish, mad as a hatter, obviously, but she was shouting about nonsense with the cries of the children, city burning.
Oh, you mean Babbling Barbara?
That's one hell of a name.
Well, not a lot around here have too much respect for things that are not just suspicious, but, well, out of the ordinary. I mean, there's already enough dark shadows in here, large enough to hide a dirigible, but, having one more thing that goes skulking around in the night just tends to give people the willies. So, yes,
I don't blame them.
So what...
certainly gave me the willies.
What is it that she said to you?
Seemed a little too connected for someone to come up to us, yelling about children and fire. Always seems to be fire with me. Following me around.
What was it about the fire?
The city burning. Over and over, trust me. I got an earful of it, but... you know how it is. I mean, I certainly would do nothing different. I don't regret anything that's happened, but...
she's...
always seems to be following me around. Just hope it doesn't come around and bite me in the arse, eh?
No, that's definitely not what you want to have happen. But, so you're saying that she's mentioning fire?
Fire. And children, which,
oh, yes,
considering what we're investigating.
A little too close for comfort.
Yes.
She's...
I mean, Lord knows it can mean nothing, but...
There's word on the street that Babbling Barbara, as it was heard, she used to be a fortune teller. Actually, one who had pretty well developed skills as it came to divinations, but unfortunately she had more of a liking of the drink than anything, so unfortunately those skills dulled over time. I mean, it's almost to the point that she doesn't have any control over it, so there's... Be careful. And I know that goes without saying, but if she's spouting off of the mouth, I mean, there's a good portion of the time that she doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's still living in the past, still looking for some form of legitimacy, something that says that she's not all bats and belfry, but...
Well, if I were in her position, I would feel the same.
Yes. Well, we're all only a couple of spells away from something like that. We've been close before, you know. You know that.
Yeah.
Be mindful of what she said. If there's things that you remember that what she said, write it down. It might come in handy later. There's...
I'm sure I'll recall something.
She's an old
Got a little too far without sleep right now, so...
definitely rest then. Well, if anything does come up, I will reach out to you in our normal manner. Find you and get you what I know. I'll see if I can find anything. Maybe somebody knows some. Perhaps one of the urchins or something has noticed the children going by. They'll know they are.
If anyone noticed them being out of place, you'd think it'd be the children.
They know their own, that's for sure. Survival becomes very important for young ones. Either they stay close to the aprons, or they end up on the rookeries or something. So, All right.
Uh,
Well, if there's anything else I could do, I'd be happy to do so. It's been way too long. I hope that you don't cross my doorstep and wait so long to do so, I should say. So they,
I'll make sure there isn't so much space between us next time.
very good. So they stand
I
up
should be
and
getting back to my group, though.
they give you a big hug. And, again, just be mindful. I know you like this society of yours, but it's not us. It's not you and I. Just be careful what they want.
Don't worry. You and I isn't going to change.
That's what I like to hear, love. And so they give you a pat on the back and send you on your way.